Hello everyone, I am Dr. Munish Kumar Bharadwaj from School of Engineering and Technology of IGNOU. Today I will discuss with you earthquake and its causes. Earthquake, if you take the literal meaning, means the shaking of earth. And as you know, these earthquakes occur, many earthquakes occur every day throughout the world. Some earthquake at some location throughout the world. But majority of these earthquakes are of the intensity that they are not being felt by the people. But some of them are strong enough to be felt, and also they cause lot of destruction. As you see here in this graphics, that a lot of destruction is done here by the earthquake in case of structures. So, these earthquakes are of large magnitude and they may cause destruction up to any great extent. So, let us see what is earthquake basically and how they are caused. Earthquake is sudden and transient motion of earth's surface. When earth shakes suddenly, then we call it as earthquake. And the primary cause of earthquake is the disturbance of the equilibrium of rock mass, which releases tremendous energy. Means there is a disturbance in the equilibrium of the rock mass inside the earth, and due to this a tremendous energy is released, and due to this energy the shaking of earth occur. This shaking of earth may also be caused by volcanic eruptions, landslides, explosions also. But the large motions of earth's surface are primarily caused by geological disturbances within the earth. There are two theories for explanation of the occurrence of the earthquake. First one is theory of elastic rebound, and second one is theory of plate tectonics. Theory of elastic rebound, if we discuss, it says that due to the disturbance in soil mass, there is a built up of strain energy, and this strain energy goes on accumulated in the earth mass or in the rock mass till the threshold limit reaches. Means, what is the meaning of the reaching of threshold limit? Means the resilience of the rock mass is crossed, or limit is crossed basically, and in that case what happens, there is a rupture in the rock mass, and due to the rupture in the rock mass a large amount of energy is released, and this energy shakes the earth. So, this is theory of elastic rebound. Second one is theory of plate tectonics. Theory of plate tectonics is basically related to or can be explained based on the theory of continental drift. Theory of continental drift was first given by Alfred Wegener, who was a German meteorologist. And what he said, he actually, as he was a meteorologist, so he used to look at the world map daily, and one day he saw very striking feature in this map, that the boundaries of the continents is of such nature that they can fit with each other just like the pieces of the puzzles. As you can see here, if you see the South America and the Africa continents, then you will find that this eastern boundary of this South America and the eastern boundary of Africa was of such nature that they can fit into each other just like the pieces of the puzzle. So, after observing this, then he tried to explore more, and finally he gave a theory that all these continents, as of now, they are separated, but at some point of time they were at one place, and there was only single continent which was called as supercontinent, and he gave this supercontinent the name of Pangaea. This was, he said that, the case of 250 million years ago, means all the continents were at a same place, they were connected together. And for that matter, he gave different evidences also. Evidence number 1, the apparent fit of continents. As I told you just now that these coastline of the Africa, if you try to bring together them just like the pieces of the puzzle, they will fit together. It suggests that these continents were connected at some point of time, and later they broken apart and these continents drifted away to different positions, as we saw the today's position on the world map, that they are at different positions. Now, evidence number 2, he said that there is a fossil correlation. What is the meaning of this fossil correlation? Means there are evidences that some in prehistoric time there were some lives like this reptile you see here, the Mesosaurus. The fossils of Mesosaurus were found on the eastern part of the South America and in the western part of the Africa. So, how it is so? Means these are the identical fossils in the rock on either side of the ocean, and these locations are quite far separated by the ocean. So, how it is possible if today's location are the final locations? But he said that these continents were connected together at one point of time, and these creatures, reptiles, roam around freely in this connected part basically, and after their extinction of these reptiles, what happened? This separation of these continents happened, and because of that these fossils, identical fossils, are found in different continents. So, this is also one of the evidence, and it was not only the one creature which was found in the different parts of the world, means in the different continents, there are other also, and like Cynognathus, Lystrosaurus, then Glossopteris. These are some of the flora and fauna which were found in different continents. Their fossils are found in different continents. Likewise, if you see here in this graphics, you will see that South America and Africa, here the fossils were found for Cynognathus. Then for fossils of Lystrosaurus were found in Africa, India and Antarctica. Then fossils of fern Glossopteris were found in Australia, Antarctica, India, Africa and South America. So, this all suggests that all these continents were connected together at some point of time. Now, evidence number 3, that rock and mountain correlation, means he found one very special feature, that rock and mountains of same type and of same age were found in different locations in the world. Here you see that identical rocks and mountain structures on either side of the ocean, that is the same rock material and of the same age were found. Here you see in northeastern part of North America and northern part of the Europe. These mountain ranges, these are of identical rocks, means they are of same material and of same age. You can say that it may be formed simultaneously in different locations, but it is not possible geologically, because that same material and of same age, this may be possible that same material is there, but their age is different. But of same material and of same age in two different locations, not possible, and this is only possible when these two parts were connected at some point of time and later they broken away and drifted to the different locations. So, evidence number 4, paleoclimatic data, means he analyzed the climatic data of very long historical time, and through this, first of all, he observed the glaciers. Actually, the glaciers, you know, the river of ice which moves very slowly, and when they move, they leave scratch marks on the rocks which are called glacial striations, and these glacial striations were found in different parts of different continents. As you see here, in South America and in Africa, these glacial striations were found, and you know that these glaciers are found in cold region, but the present location of these scratches of the glaciers are in the warm climate. So, means this indicates that the present position of these continents was not there in earlier times. Means these continents, because glacial striations were found in these regions, so it suggests that these continents were somewhat in colder region, means somewhat near the South Pole, means they have drifted to the current location over a period of time. So, this suggests that glacial evidences in warm regions, means at earlier time they were not in this location. Second thing is bituminous coal. Bituminous coal, basically coal is formed by the pressure and temperature inside the earth when the plant life is buried over a long time. And for formation of the bituminous coal, means large plant life must have died and it is buried for a long time, and due to that high temperature and pressure, it converted into coal, bituminous coal. So, for that matter, there should be very large plant life, and generally that large plant life is available in tropical rainforests, and means these bituminous coal were formed in the tropical rainforests, but the coal is found in different colder regions. Now these locations are in colder regions basically. If you see here in that Antarctica and in that northern part of the world, the coal is found. In that southern part of this Africa and in Australia also, bituminous coal is found. So, it suggests that these colder regions which are now at present location, these were earlier, these were not in these locations, and it means that they were in tropical regions. So, means there is a movement of the continents from their original position to the new position. So, means these evidences shows that there are warmer evidences in the cold regions and the evidences of the cold climate in the warm regions. So, this were found. So, this suggests that there is a drifting of these continents from earlier position to the current position. So, this all gave the explanation of the theory of continental drift, means the continents drifted away to the new position from their earlier position. But what causes the drifting of this large rock mass? Because it is not simply that simple forces or small forces can move such large continents. So, there should be something which caused the movement of these large continents, and to understand that something, we have to look inside the earth. Actually, earth is made of different layers, and topmost layer is called as the crust, then below crust is the mantle, then under the mantle is the outer core, and the central region is called as the inner core. Actually, inner core is a solid ball type of thing, outer core is a liquid one, mantle is also a highly viscous, you can say molten rocks basically, and crust is a solid thing. So, this is the chemical composition. If you look at the mechanical composition of these layers, then we say that lithosphere, then below it is lithosphere is basically the crust plus uppermost solid mantle. And earthquake activity, seismic activity generally occurs in this lithosphere region. What happens that when we go from surface of the earth to the inside of the earth, temperature and pressure goes on increasing, and due to the difference in temperature and pressure, what happens, the convection currents are created, and due to these convection currents there is a motion in the mantle part, which is highly viscous type of fluid. So, and these convection currents basically you can understand from this, you can say if you look at that boiling liquid inside a pot, then what happens that this liquid which is in contact with the bottom of the pot, this first get heated and becomes light, then it moves up, and the colder one which is heavy, this goes to the bottom part of the pot and it is again heated and it rises up. So, that way currents are formed in this boiling liquid, just like in soup basically, and these currents, so similar currents are also produced in case of mantle region also, because that in upper part of the mantle the temperature is less, and in the lower part of the mantle basically the temperature and pressure is high. So, due to this temperature and pressure gradient, the convection currents are generated, and due to these convection currents, basically due to the motion of these currents, they apply force on the lithosphere, and lithosphere is not a solid single unit basically. Lithosphere is broken into many plates which are called as the tectonic plates, which are of size of the continents basically. So, this pressure being applied by the convection currents which are generated in the mantle region, and these convection currents apply force on the lithosphere plates basically, and due to this these plates are moving. So, this is the explanation what causes the continents to drift. So, due to the motion of these plates, basically many things happen, and you see here that there are 7 major plates. This Eurasian plates, Indo-Australian plate, Pacific plate, North American plate, African plate, South American plate, Antarctic plate, and there are several minor plates also. So, what happens due to the motion of these plates? There are 3 different type of boundaries are formed. 3 different type of boundaries means, first one is divergent boundary. At divergent boundary, what happens? The 2 plates are moving apart due to the force being applied by the molten matter in the mantle region. So, this is called as divergent boundary or the divergent plates. Second one is convergent plates. In convergent plates means the plates are moving towards each other. Direction of the force on the plates, tectonic plates, is of such nature that these 2 plates are forced to move towards each other. Third one is when the 2 plates are moving side by side. So, that is called as the transform plate or the transform boundary. So, let us see their motion and their effect. First one is the convergent boundary. As I told you that in case of convergent boundary, 2 plates are moving towards each other, and due to the motion of these 2 plates towards each other, there may be 2 type of things may happen. What are these 2? First one is the subduction. Subduction means when the oceanic plate meets the continental plates, then oceanic plate is dense and heavy. So, this subsides under the lighter continental plate. As you see here in this graphic, the left one is the oceanic plate, which is heavy and dense. It is going under the lighter continental plate. So, it goes into the earth basically under the lighter continental plate, and when it goes under, there is a high temperature is there, high pressure is there. Due to this, the rock mass melts, and due to the melting of this rock mass, what happens? More pressure is built up, and due to this pressure, this magma sometimes come out, and this coming out of magma basically is called as the volcanic eruption. So, this volcanic eruption occurs in subduction zone. Also, along with the volcanic eruption, there are seismic events also, means earthquake also occur, because this motion, this subduction motion is not a very smooth motion. This is jerky, and due to this jerky motion, the vibrations are caused in the earth surface, which causes the whole earth to shake. So, that way this earthquake also occur. So, at subduction zone, 2 activities may occur, the earthquake and the volcanic eruption. And this ring of fire, as you see here with the red dots, basically this shows the locations in the world map for the active volcanoes. So, by joining these, this ring of fire is actually formed. So, this is the, you can say this shows the locations of the active volcanoes. Then second action may be that when the 2 continental plates are moving towards each other, so neither will subside under the other, and what will happen, that due to the pressure, the folding of the plates will occur, and due to this folding, what happens, the formation of mountains occur, and our Himalayas is formed by this action of the folding of the plates, where the 2 plates are moving towards each other, continental plates are moving, and the plates are being folded. So, these Himalayas are formed because of the Indo-Australian plate and the Eurasian plate, when these 2 plates are moving towards each other and folding of these plates has occurred and the Himalayas are formed. Second one is the transform boundary. What happens that at when the two plates are moving side by side, then there may be some locations these plates may get struck, and when these plates get struck, then what happens, the force is being constantly applied on these plates. So, energy is being absorbed and accumulated in this rock mass, and when threshold limit occurs, so there will be a rupture and the large amount of energy will be released. So, and this large amount of energy will shake the earth, will cause the earthquake. And very proper example of this transform boundary is the San Andreas fault in North America. This is the San Andreas fault, which is basically between the Pacific plate and the North American plate. Pacific plate are moving upside and this North American plate is moving downside. So, there is a transform boundary, and at this boundary large earthquake has been experienced basically in the past. And the evidence for this transform boundary you can see from this graphics, where this boundary made of this wooden you can say logs, this is broken and this has gone to different positions, otherwise this would have been a continuous boundary. The similar example is here. Here also this boundary is broken because of that transform boundary and the motion of the two plates in the two regions basically. Third one is the divergent boundary. In divergent boundary, what happens, due to the constant force being applied by the convection currents in the magma in the molten region basically in mantle region, what happens, these plates are being separated, and due to this what happens, fissures, cracks and rift is created, and due to this there is a gap in these two plates basically, and because of that this magma comes out in this region, and this causes, if it is occurring in the sea or the ocean, this causes the basically the expansion of the sea floor. So, this is called sea floor spreading, and this is actually occurring in the Atlantic region basically, and you see that this is the mid-Atlantic ridge in the ocean there, which is being formed due to this action. Then this theory of plate tectonics says that rigid plates constituting the Earth's outer surface are continuously moving. Energy is built up in the interplate boundaries, and energy is released when the threshold level is exceeded. So, this energy, how much energy is released, this there is an equation given by Gutenberg and the Richer in 1956, which says that log E equal to 11.8 plus 1.5 ms. This ms is the magnitude of the earthquake basically, and this magnitude of earthquake is related to the energy released. E is energy in arcs, and this single change in the unit of the earthquake means magnitude of earthquake, if it is going from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, this single change in the magnitude of the earthquake, this changes the energy by 10 to the power 1.5 times. Means if you solve this 10 to the power 1.5, it is equal to the 32. Means single change in magnitude brings a change of 32 times in the seismic energy. And how much basically is this energy is, the energy released in an atom bomb of the size used in Hiroshima, which was equivalent to the 20,000 tons of TNT basically, it corresponds to the magnitude of 6 earthquake. Means when there is an earthquake of 6 magnitude, then this much energy is released. How much it is? Means which was released by the atom bomb in case of Hiroshima, and which is equivalent of the explosion of 20,000 ton of TNT. So this much of energy. And if you go by change by single unit of magnitude, means from if you go from 6 to 7, means 32 times it will be there. Means for an earthquake of magnitude 7, means it will be, the energy will be equivalent to the 32 bombs dropped at a simultaneously at a location. If you go from 7 to 8 and you compare this energy with the energy of the 6 magnitude earthquake, then it will be 32 into 32 roughly 1000. Means energy released will be equivalent to the energy released by the 1000 of atom bombs simultaneously dropped at a location. So this is the significance of that energy released in this. Then this, what happens when this large energy is released, then this energy propagates in all directions and this moves through two ways, means inside the earth and through at the surface of the earth. The point where the rupture occurs, it is called the focus or the hypocenter, and the point exactly at the earth's surface above the focus is the epicenter. And this energy is propagated, as I told you, in all directions, and this energy then causes the shaking of the earth, which affects our structures and other land features also. This, as I told you, that this energy moves through body waves as well as surface waves. Then body waves are of two types. P waves means the primary waves, and the S wave means the secondary wave or the shear wave. Primary wave are of the nature of just like sound waves, which propagates in the form of compression and extension, means push and pull. And this S wave, actually these are shear waves, and there is side to side as well as up and down motion basically in the wave, and similarly they causes the land mass to move this way. Then surface wave are of two types: love waves, in which the side wave motion occurs in the horizontal plane, and another one is relay waves, in which elliptical motion occurs in vertical plane. So these are the waves through which this energy moves from the point of rupture to different locations in the world. Then along with this shaking of earth, there are other effects also of the earthquake. What are these effects? First of all, tsunami. If this seismic activity occur inside the sea and it is of the magnitude of something more than 7.5 or so, then it causes the disturbance in the water of the ocean or the sea, and this disturbance may be of large magnitude, means even the wave height may be near the shore, wave height may go up to even 10-15 meters, and they carry a large energy with them and they destroy everything whatever comes in their way. Another effect is landslide. Due to the shaking of earth, what happens? There is a landslide, and due to this landslide there is a damage to the buildings which are constructed in this region. Then another one is liquefaction. In liquefaction, what happens? There is a failure of the soil mass. Failure of the soil mass means it loses its soil mass, loses its shear strength, and when it loses its shear strength, it is not able to carry the load of the structures that are built on that particular soil. And what happens? It behaves just like a liquid, and there may be a partial sinking of the buildings or failure of the buildings due to this. As you see in this graphics, on the left side it is when there is no liquefaction, on right side it is when the liquefaction has occurred. So some stories of the buildings have gone down into the earth. Then there may be fire also, means there may be a failure of the gas pipes, and due to these broken gas pipes there may be fire, and this fire also may cause destruction. So, these are the secondary effects. So, what is earthquake and what are the causes of earthquake, that I have explained to you. Then I have explained to you what are the secondary effect of this seismic activity. So, I think you must have understood these things very clearly. So, thank you for patient listening.